Okay. Hello, Ben. I'm Nancy. So thank you for joining the meeting for the interview today.
That's
This
no
is
problem.
our team. Yeah. So today we will talk about the diversity in the workplace have or heard the organization. So I have sent you the some question for the interview today. So based on this question, so I hope you can share us your experience in your company as well and your own experience. So are you ready for the interview today?
Yes, please, fire away,
Okay.
it's no problem.
Okay, so I will go first for the first question. The workplace diversity play an important role in productivity in your company.
So I'll bring up my answers. So diversity does definitely play an important role in productivity.
Yeah.
I find I've worked in quite a few different organisations, and I'll refer mainly to my time here at AI Medical. But what happens is diversity in the workplace helps us overcome obstacles with roadblocks. So when we come up to a challenge or an issue that one particular staff member may not have had an exposure to that particular challenge, having people from a different diversity helps provide a larger approach. Means we get to brainstorm, so we get to talk about what could be a faster way that someone might come up with a different idea that say I haven't come up with before. Or it also means that someone is coming from a different background. They might have come across that particular challenge on a regular basis. Whereas by being diversified, it means we have a divergent environment. It means we constantly change with the environment around us. I have worked in other organisations years ago where they didn't have a diversified uh, employment with staff, and what tends to happen is you don't grow as an organisation. You find that over time, what tends to happen is people get very much set in their ways, and when there's a new challenge, no one knows how to answer that. So no one knows how to overcome that obstacle. So it is constantly having new ways to tackle the same jobs, and by potentially finding faster ways and streamlining the same type of productivity that we have been before with new staff.
Okay. I think so in your company the diversity workplace it play important thing, right?
Say that part again, sorry?
So I think after your answer, so I think the workplace diversity play important role in your company.
Oh, it's huge. Diversity, as I go into other questions, having the diversity in the workplace has been a big key to our success because all our suppliers,
Mm.
all the products that we sell are all overseas in all different countries. We import from Singapore or America or Russia or Germany. We import different medical items and we sell within Australia. So having diversity in the workplace is extremely important. It's probably one of our key focuses as a company.
Yeah. So I know there are a lot of diversity in the workplace. So which one is the most diversity in your company?
Which one is the most what? Sorry.
Which is the most diversity in your company?
As in, I mean, with
I
our company, we
think
have.
maybe you can
Sorry.
you can answer. Which one
Okay,
is
cool.
the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We have just under 15 staff at AI Medical, and I would say close to 70% of all the staff have come from a different cultural background. They've either come from different parts of the world. Being Australian, we in the company of AI Medical, there's only, I think I worked out of the almost 15, there's only 3 of us who are actually Australian. The rest of our staff are from many different parts of the world. And I think that's what's helped us to grow so rapidly because it means that when we're dealing with overseas international suppliers or we're dealing with international logistics, it means that we're able to diversify our skill set. It means that we are able to rely on someone who has experience in that type of field. A prime example is since Stella's come on board, she has a better understanding of international logistics than what I do. So what I have to do is step back and allow her to just take the reins essentially. So that means that she just runs with that type of role and I have all the faith in her to do that. And it gives me the opportunity to focus on other just as equally important tasks and requirements that my role does need.
Yeah, I agree with you. The culture and the skill set will play an important thing. Because I also work in the logistic before, so I know the knowledge about the logistic is very important for the staff when they do in this company.
Definitely, definitely.
So this is for my boss. So I think now my friend will ask you more question about this.
That's cool.
Okay. Okay, hello, Ben. I want to ask you some questions about the management in the diversity workforce. And I want to know about the atmosphere about the workforce. So this is my first questions. As you are an HR manager, so what kind of the difficulty in management in the diversity in the workplace?
It can definitely be a challenge because when you have a very diversion or diversity in your workplace, you have many different cultures. So there may be many different religious beliefs, traditions, or work ethics and approach that are different to what each other have experienced. So you have to just be very open-minded, and welcome all questions, all approach. I find here with AI Medical in the office, it's very much three of us most of the time, full time. There's the managing director, Andrew, who's from New Zealand. There's myself. I was born in Australia. I was actually born in Western Australia. And we have Stella here as well, as you all know Stella. So it's interesting because we all have had different backgrounds, different cultural upbringings. So when we talk, we try to encourage as many questions. It's a very safe environment, no matter how simple or how complex the question is. And we try to keep the workplace environment very, very fun, very family orientated. We want someone to feel very much at home coming to work because I've always wanted, I know Andrew would support me as well, want to create a culture at work where it's actually fun to come to. It's not just, it's a Monday, let's just get through a Monday. It's fun to talk about what we've done on the weekend. It's fun to talk about, here's a prime example. So I even just suggested today, Andrew was showing us early this morning some pictures of him growing up on a dairy farm. The photos were in black and white, so I'll let you guess how long ago that was. But what I said, well, maybe on Mondays, because Monday's the day where we're all in the office full time, unless Andrew's interstate. I said, well, how about we just bring in some family photos of us growing up, some awkward photos, some silly photos of us being kids, because it really just breaks down those walls. It really shows that we are caring for each other. So when it comes to the workplace, if I get stuck or if I need Stella to do something, or like with this, if Stella asks if I can help out, I'm more than happy to help out because we want that type of environment. So I think by embracing different cultures, different diversity, it just creates a fun, energetic, and growing workplace. Because I find if we, being such a small organisation, but if we went down a very linear line and tried to keep it very strict in a cultural sense of environment, it wouldn't be fun. And we spend most of our time at work. I mean, it should be enjoyable as equally as when we're not at work. So that's definitely how I try to respond to the diversity and challenges.
It sounds so good, I want to go to your company too,
Yes, I love about the information about the photoholic.
It sounds so good,
One of us is photoholic.
It's how I've always approached jobs. I've worked in many different jobs. I've worked for government, and you can find that people get very much set in their own, this is my task, and they don't get involved with other people's worries, and they don't want to share or socialize. And from that's not a workplace environment. That's torturous. That's basically being in a processing plant. But by having interesting conversations with your staff and keeping that diversity going in your workplace, you learn different things. like since Stella's come on board, I had my first mung bean pie dessert. Never had that before in my life. But that's just a simple thing, and you can take that to even just different workplace methodologies, approaches. Stella's taught me stuff that I've never learned in any of my other jobs. So the best thing I can do is just be humble and ask the questions and welcome the questions.
Cool. That's so cool. So your strategies is that keep open mind and to build a very harmless working environment atmosphere, so that everybody feel like in family.
Definitely, and embrace it. Definitely embrace it and keep humble, because if you can embrace the cultural change, it means that you're growing as an organisation. If you don't, you're going to be set in that type of structure, and the world's going to change around you, and you're still going to be set in that same type of structure. If you can't change in a divergent environment, you might be good at the job or as a company now, but in 6 months' time, you could be behind. So you have to embrace and grow. That's why I came on board with Andrew when he approached me about coming on board to work here. So
yes. So in your opinions, how does workplace diversity impact the team performance? So you think it is positive or negative?
I think it's definitely positive, because you generally, as mentioned before, you want to come to work. So if I get stuck with something, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can ask. Half the time I don't even need to ask Stella. She's already jumped on board and she's already started responding or following up purchase orders or overseas suppliers. So it just means that we tend to constantly be moving forward. We're constantly being productive. It means that the ideal situation, and we're definitely heading in that direction, is I know on the days I work with Stella, I love Mondays because I have Stella for the whole day. So there's certain things, if I come in when I get into work for anyone else, I can see there's certain things that we'll need to jump on in response to customers, suppliers, whatever. I don't even get caught up with them straight away, because I know Stella's going to be coming in and she'll run with that. So I have that confidence and faith in her just to do it without even asking. So it means I can focus on some of these other tasks I probably didn't finish off on the week before.
Okay. And as you mentioned before, some of the colleagues are from the New Zealand and you are from Australia, and some are from other countries. And so are there any conflicts during the work? And what do you think about the working atmosphere?
So when it comes to a conflict, I mean, we haven't had any major conflicts since I've come on board, but I know that we have one of our sales manager, Matt, is South African, and he's an ex-military South African, so he can be very direct. But I've spent some time working with him, and I've known him well enough he's not being direct in you haven't done your job, or I need you to hurry up. It's just that's his culture. I mean, we joke. I mean, Andrew and I, we say, if we need something done, we get Matt to do it, because South Africans, they get something done. Like he just gets it done. But I can have the conversation with him, and I've had a call and said, hey, I'm still learning about that. Can you please give me more details? And he'll drop everything and explain it to me. So he's also, I think he's similar age to Andrew. I think he's in his 60s. So he's very much set in his ways. He's been like that for his whole life. But I've always had open and honest conversations with him, because I've shown the respect from that background, that if I'm not understanding what he is meaning, I can call him up and say, Matt, I need you to explain it to me, start again, black and white, and he will stop and explain it again. He still doesn't get frustrated, because I've shown him the respect. Whereas I know some people I've worked with in the past may take his requests almost as orders and might find him a little bit off-putting. But it's just his culture, it's his upbringing, it's how he's gone about it. So you just have to be mindful of that. When Stella came on board, Stella was being very polite and writing to everyone, and very much from her culture as well. It's like Mr. Ben or Mr. Andrew. And I remember Matt, he said that we're very much more of a relaxed type company with AI Medical, so she doesn't need to address everyone. So he emailed her to just, make it less formal. You don't have to be so formal, because he's trying to help support that culture that Andrew and I are trying to create. And because I was able to explain to Stella, he's very direct, but that's how he is. There is no conflict because we've got that communication out in the open. If we didn't have that communication, someone could take something the wrong way and be a little bit put off, and then they might not want to deal with that person. And then you start to create tension. Then productivity starts to slow.
Yes.
So it's about keeping that communication up and open with everyone is the key across the board.
No, this is one of the strategy tool, right?
It's huge.
Yeah. So, and compare with the homogeneous workforce, do you think the diversity workforce would has a worse working atmosphere, or there's no influence on that?
I think as long as the understanding's there, I think if there is an equal understanding that everyone's respected, everyone's cultural beliefs and strategies and approaches are respected, because if they're understood, then it's not an issue. Then it's definitely not an issue. If we didn't have an understanding, you could see there what tends to happen, especially when you start to get more volume of staff involved, when you start hitting around about that 15, 20 mark of people employed. If there wasn't an understanding, you start getting little groups within groups or little cliques, and you start to find that there's little teams within teams, and you'll find certain teams are very productive, or certain teams aren't, or there's a person who's a bad influence, or things like that. So I think as long as you keep that communication and understanding open, even if there's something that if you've made a mistake, I think I even at one time I asked Stella to do something because I completely forgot about it, and it was just I owned it. It was ownership, but there's no hierarchy here. I mean, Andrew being the managing director, Stella coming on board to any of the other assistants, we're all equal. We are literally all equal. There is no one higher. We don't try and work on a hierarchy system. Sure, when there's decisions that need to be made that affect the business in an overarching position, we start with Andrew and then we discuss it among the rest. But we have so much more equal opportunity to freely speak opinions and concerns and support and positive reinforcement, which I think is just, as long as it's respected, I think it makes a huge difference.
Oh, your working atmosphere is so good, you know.
Thank you.
Respect each other. That's so good. That's so good.
It's good. I've worked in other areas where in different organisations, I've worked in the government where it hasn't been. So that's why it's good to experience that, to know that's not where I'd want to create that type of environment.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Cool.
Yes. Now my turn. I want to ask about the characteristic between the introvert and extrovert staff. So how is the difference between for the manager when they supervising? Like me, I'm very introvert, but Ben and Mr. Andrew is extremely extrovert. Talk too much. Yes.
So the difference in a way is you have to understand who you're working with. You have to understand their values and their motivations. If you understand that and show respect, you can really find that same ground between, like, you see how I interact with yourself and how I interact with Andrew. It's very, very similar. I've known Andrew for 8 years, but I'm just as equally comfortable with Andrew as I am with yourself, Stella, because we worked on very early on. I tried to break down some of those formalities that I mentioned to you before. So, with your typing of Mr. Ben and Mr. Andrew, but I've also introduced little things like I've really made sure that if I say something like an Australian slang or fingers crossed or a term that may not be as familiar with yourself, I've really encouraged you. I've said, stop everything, ask, and I'll encourage you, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? Because it helps build the connection and a rapport for our workplace. And by doing that, it means that you're more comfortable to ask as many questions. Because by someone being an introvert and an extrovert, my approach may be slightly different, but I'm still needing the same outcome. So in any scenario with the introvert or extrovert, I need to establish a rapport with the individual. If I didn't, I would find that it would be harder to get either productivity, ask for help or assistance, or have more difficult conversations with the individual. We have staff interstate who I've never met in person, but I've spoken to quite a lot on the phone. I've done the same thing. I've invested in some time into them. So I know Jeff, which we haven't met yet in person, but one of our guys, Jeff, who works part-time, he plays golf on Wednesday. So I always ask him about, it's a small thing to him, but I ask him how his golf has gone. So, and that gets him talking, that breaks the ice. That means he wants to, talk about some of his passions and his hobbies. It's like with yourself, I asked about your family. I show you photos of my family as well, because it's about making sure that a lot of those formalities and walls are broken down. And then you've got confidence to ask any question. With Andrew, I don't need to be as, I've developed a relationship with him over years where I can be more direct, but he's also, I've got the respect for him being the managing director, so I have to also make sure that he understands what the questions I'm asking is for the benefit of the business. By managing those type of personality types, it's not hard. You just need to be mindful that everyone has a different way of asking a question. Some people might just come out and throw it at you straight away, or they might just blurt it at you a bit aggressive because they have been nervous about it. But if you've got the relationship and your support and your rapport with any workplace individual, it doesn't matter if they're introvert or extrovert, they'll always be able to ask the question. If I was very much shut off and I didn't try to encourage any type of input, then an introvert might never ask any questions. But I like to think that, and I'm sure you have, if there's anything you want to know or any questions, you ask straight away, you don't even hesitate. But in your first week or two, you might not have done that straight away because we've just had to work at it.
Yes, thank you. So my question's about networking. So do you think networking is effective to connect the people from different culture and different countries?
I think it is. Networking in anything, business success, social networks, skills, is important, purely because, so this is just a little bit of a backstory. I knew Andrew because his wife and my wife worked together. They've worked together for quite a few years. I got to meet Andrew and his wife Yana 8-9 years ago, and they ended up coming to my wedding because we made really good friends with them. And I've stayed friends with them every probably 3 or 6 months. We'd catch up and he met our kids and we've always just had social interactions because it's part of a network.
Yes.
If I hadn't done that, and it wasn't because it was because of any ulterior motive, it was just purely because it was just fun to have a friend who was, my wife's works with his wife. Purely because of that little network has resulted in myself being asked by Andrew to be the administration manager of AR Medical. So purely from that network side, just of having that on a social level is huge. You don't know where things can lead. So having a network in a diverse multicultural employment, you just don't know. And Stella, you've already done it with your examples of bringing on external international freight providers. Yes. I would have never ever gotten around to being able to, one, even have the knowledge of half of the ones, knowing that they exist, and two, the time it would have taken for me to invest in any of that, it meant that all my existing tasks and duties would have had to drop. So by you having networks in your previous roles and understanding who's good at what has helped the business grow. We're looking at options of finding a new way of bringing in items from Russia. And I've encouraged you to, do it. That's your project. That's your responsibility, because I've got the faith that you to completely run that.
Sorry.
No, I think he froze.
Okay. So now Justin's gonna ask some question.
Oh yeah. Hi. So, as an international company, how many employed staff from several countries? Can you give some advice so that an employee from a new culture can quickly integrate into the new working environment?
I think one of the best things is to approach it, to be humble and to, I don't want to use the word silly, but I would just keep it very lighthearted. Try not to over analyze the situation and the cultural setup. Just be I mean, I'm speaking to all of you here. Everyone seems to be very positive, energetic. If you take that approach in any type of culture, the culture will either do two things. It'll help support, nurture, and want to have you guys on board, and you'll flourish from that. If a culture is very much in a box and they just want you to do a certain type of task, then if that's what you want to do, then that's totally fine. But I would encourage everyone to expose themselves to as many different cultures, to as many different type of workplace environments, because you can learn so much more just from experience, from just being involved, volunteering, stepping outside your comfort zone. I've always tried to adopt the method of, if you can get comfortable at being uncomfortable, if you can get used to that, if you can put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you might be a little bit nervous or a little bit socially awkward or whatever it is, but if you can get comfortable being in that type of feeling, you just never know what you're going to be able to just achieve from just having those type of relationships and talking it through. So, and I think every culture has something beautiful to show, and if you're not just opening your mind up and just embracing it, you're never really going to understand people outside of your own direct circle of network. So I just encourage anything. If you sit there and there's an opportunity, or some friends said, oh, we're going to do something different, or there's an opportunity through uni, or an opportunity through do a part-time work in something completely different, then there's no harm in trying. If you at least try, you will still learn something. You might learn that you don't want to do it, but you will still learn something from that process, and that's what builds your character and your strengths. So then as you grow and you start to develop your strengths and your skill set, you know what you do like and what you don't like. So if you are faced with something you don't like, tools you might need to put in place to help you work through that scenario.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Cool.
How's having a diverse environment helps innovate your employees?
I think the technology that we bring in from all around the world is the innovation just in that, I think, is reflective of the staff that we have on board. So having different cultural employees, everyone seems to have, like what I'm thinking of here is what I'm referring to. So we've got a lady called Nikki from America. She seems to be a specialist in a physiotherapy-like way with a product called Naraxin. Or we have, I know Matt seems to sell a lot of TMS and other things, but what I'm getting at is by each diverse person we have employed seems to have their special niche. So if we have someone who needs to speak to us about a certain product, we can say, look, I know a little bit about it, but the best person would be to speak to Andrew if it's about a TMS machine, or Matt if it's about a Galileo machine. So by having that special diversity, it helps the opportunity for us to learn, but it helps that part of the business grow with that specialist on board, because we seem to be, I know it's a direction of Andrew's, that he likes to have all of us to be a little bit of it's called a jack of all trades. It means you know a lot about a lot of little things, but if especially the sales guys or the specialists and the scientists and the rehabilitation consultants have their main product focus, then it means that if we have a seminar or we have a specific customer who wants to know about that, even if they're interstate, we'll direct them to that person. So then it helps to grow on a greater scale. But I think with the innovation of having a multicultural staff, it's just turning simple ideas on its head and just thinking of new ways of going about things. It just makes business better. If the business never grows or never changes, it'll always be what it is when it started. And I think Andrew's experienced that in the past 18 months. The business has grown quite a lot, and I believe it is from having a multicultural staff.
Yeah, that's really good. Your company really does have like a really good diverse environment.
We do, and it's great. I think it keeps it different. It keeps it diverse, but it keeps it very fresh, and the new technologies that Andrew's always looking at, there's always something new to learn. There's not one day that's the same, which is great. That means you're not getting bored with the same type of, it's not monotonous at all. It's constantly growing. We've got new challenges every single day of something we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all of my question.
Thank you.
I think we have go through all questions for the interview today.
Thank
That's
you.
all the questions.
I really appreciate your answer because it helped me to learn a lot about your company and also the workplace. When I go to find a job, I know what should I do and I know what should I interact to the company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
As you
I think your
really.
information is very useful and thanks for your time for today to help us for this assignment and this report as well. Maybe later I will send this link to you. Hope you will enjoy the video today. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to, and happy for you to use it for whatever you need. If you need any more involvement in the future, I've said to Stella, more than happy to be part of it. I've spoken to Andrew about it. He's more than happy for us to be part of it and help support you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay, bye-bye.
you. Okay.